Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Gorecom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news. With us today, happy to have him back because I think he's the artificial intelligence king of the Canadian small cap space. It's Marshall Gunter, CEO of DataMetrex AI, trades in Canada under DM for our friends in the US, DTMXF, and for friends in Europe on Frankfurt under D4G. For those of you to the story, because you saw the headline, $18.3 million in revenue for Q2 and wondering who are these guys, here's what you need to know. DataMetrex is a tech-focused company, as you can imagine, using artificial intelligence to create solutions across multiple verticals. And right now they're winning in cybersecurity, electric vehicle charging, and telehealth. So that's given them the rare benefit that most small companies will only dream of, which is to have multiple successful independent divisions that are each capable of being a company maker. And that's why CIOReview, which is a leading digital tech magazine, has recognized the company as the most promising Canadian tech company for the 2022 calendar year. More than just lip service, let's look at the numbers, guys. For the full year into 2021, record revenue of $50 million, record adjusted EBITDA of $15 million, unbelievable gains on those metrics. I won't even go through the rest. By the way, net earnings, $9 million. But for the Q that they just announced, revenue, $18.3 million, positive cash flow, over $760,000, balance sheet, over $25 million in current assets, including $14 million in cash. So they're hitting on all cylinders. And here to talk about the financials and the other divisions, Marshall, welcome back, my friend.
Hi, George. I'm always happy to be here.
Hey, we're happy to have you because even though everyone's getting in their last barbecues, you're making us work, but I love this kind of work. Let's talk about the Q first. 18.3 million in revenue. How happy are you with the result? How happy should shareholders be with the result?
Well, right now we're really happy with the result, and shareholders should be happy with the results too. I would hope so. We're continuing to bring in revenue and cash just like we were last year and the year before, and we're continuing to expand those services. And like you said, for this, the adjusted EBITDA on this one's like 3.26 million. EBITDA is 1.4 million. We're just continuing to move the goalpost and keep pushing DataMetrex further and further. Now, I mean, there's not without some downsides on this. We saw approximately a $2 million loss in the stock market along with everybody else. Who's been invested. The market wasn't exactly kind.
But remember, the Q2 was pretty tough across the whole planet. It's not unique to DataMetrex.
It's been tough on anybody.
Netflix is down 70%, Shopify 70%, even Facebook is over 60%. Sure. So you're doing fine, relatively speaking.
No, I'm not concerned. We're not out of it until we exit, and so we haven't exited. And just like every other down market, it'll come back. Nobody's concerned about that. But it's this type of income and revenues also allowed us to roll out some of the programs we were doing. We spent over $1 million on the NCIB, so buying back some stock, etc. About $1 million, not over $1 million. Just want to be clarify. And it's allowed us to move, some more revenue and some more resources into our AI and IT divisions, and that stuff is up. So we're seeing over 2 million there, which is up 140% from last year. So we're doing, we're feeling good about this. We're doing exactly what we said we would do. We're going to take, we're going to take the revenue, we're going to push it back into the core, and we're going to start expanding that, and that's working right now.
So let's talk about that expansion. You're in Vancouver right now because people might be able to see that your background is a little lighter than usual. That typically means hotel room or something like that. You're there, and I'm going to read the press release. DataMetrex EVS begins testing trials of the smart EV charger. Now, this was a major transaction to get this technology in the first place. Maybe give us a 30-second for people who are new. But then let's go into what you're doing in Vancouver in terms of testing, beginning the trials for the smart EV charger.
Sure. So for those of you who are new, what we're doing with DataMetrex Electric Vehicle Services is we're partnered with EVAR, which is a company pioneered by Samsung out of Korea. Now that stands for Electric Vehicle Advanced Recharging. And what it is it's Samsung along with Hyundai and Kia and a host of other people. And you can go onto their website, EVAR. Go check it out. They do have it in English to solve range anxiety and charging problems in electric vehicles. So we piloted a program with Samsung, who's been a long-term client of ours, and to use our AI to solve the range anxiety problem. Now, range anxiety is what's causing people, especially in Canada, to not adopt electric vehicles.
Guys like
That
me.
was the early pilot, and it worked. And that's what got us the contract and allowed us to do this partnership. But long term, it's not just about range anxiety. This is about predictions of battery health, battery life across the board. We're not talking just cars. Cars are the tip of the iceberg. And this endeavor is Samsung and EVAR and Hyundai and Kia, using their tech in the North American market for the first time. But what they're long term, what we're looking at is range anxiety in everything. So you're not talking just cars, buses, trucks, manufacturing lines, drones, delivery services. If you saw, yeah, they're delivering pizza by robot in Tel Aviv, Israel right now. Everything's going to require these vehicles, and that's what allowed us to do it. And we're ahead of the game. So go, take a look at the press releases. We're in it with that, but that's the overall thing. Now, right now, we're starting to roll out a lot of the stuff. If you look on EVAR's website, it's not just chargers. Chargers are the first thing coming over because that's this is the low hanging fruit. So we've already seen some of the chargers come across. And one of the interesting things about these, infrastructure and charging and stuff like that is the new tech that EVAR has, which we're bringing over right now, is way more efficient, 5 times as efficient as anything we've got over here.
Wow.
So just, think about it this way. Okay, so this is just for a car charger, but the application runs across the board. You go into a parking lot and every pole has a, 1 wire, 2 wires, et cetera. And you can charge a car. For that installation, we can put in 5 times as many cars for the same installation. So, 1 installation, 5 cars. All right. So, it's 20% of the cost.
Which makes it
so
a much
that's
easier decision to get partners at that point. If George
Absolutely.
Retail's got 100 commercial places across Canada, it makes it a much easier decision for me to say, let's go with DataMetrex EVS.
Absolutely. And we're already pioneering and piloting this in Vancouver right now, which is why I'm here. So, we're rolling all that right now. We've got partners in Vancouver where we're looking, and then we're going to roll this out, nationwide. Additionally, the trucks are coming over on schedule, just like the press release said. So these are trucks that are specially designed to drive around, and, you could do like CAA, that's one avenue. And we're exploring partnerships with that right now. How do we help stranded motorists, et cetera? But also, where do you need charging points? And people don't think about this. As EVs rolling out, we've got charging points in cities. Now, we don't have enough of them, obviously. Drive around.
No, and again, that's why I haven't bought an electric vehicle yet, because I'm concerned about that, right?
Yeah, of course. But again, mobile charging points, pipelines, any type of fishing industry, all this stuff, anything that goes even remotely outside of a charging infrastructure, we can help. And this is, these things are rolling out just like we said. And we're looking forward to expanding that across Canada, and then hopefully across the entire North American market. But the chargers, the trucks, the electric infrastructure like that, tip of the iceberg. This is their foray into the North American market. And again, like I said, batteries are going to be in absolutely everything you can think of, right, in the next 10 years.
And a reminder to both current shareholders and new information for new people that might be watching. You acquired this technology, and in return, EVAR didn't want cash from you. They wanted shares in the company, right? So that says a lot about how confident EVAR is in both your capabilities and their technology together, really, really doing well, rolling this out across North America.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we were doing the pilot project with them over the past year, and then we're, negotiating how do we get this to work, it's exactly like you said. But I mean, when you're talking companies like Samsung and Hyundai Motors and Kia Motors and, players of those magnitudes, these are big companies, really big companies.
Conglomerates.
Yes. When we're in negotiations with those guys and we say, hey, man, we can offer up $10 million in cash, they're like, "Well, that's not even worth talking about for us," which is fair. I get it. And, but on the flip side, it also exudes confidence in what we can do with this. So they really like this. They like what we're doing with it. They like the opportunity, and they wanted to be a part of that opportunity, not just here's a little bit of cash and go away. No, they have a lot of confidence in what we can do here, and it shows. And we're glad to have them.
Yep, and it's just an indication of your AI capabilities, just validation of your AI capability. So next 6 months, 12 months, ballpark. I know we can't pin you down to a timeline. Then we're going to move on to Medicall, which is another, more use of your AI technology. But ballpark, what does the rollout look like in Canada for the next 6-12 months? And do you start rolling out to the US over the next 6-12 months as well, if you even know that yet?
Yeah. So over the next through the end of the year, the rollout looks like this. We're going to continue to doing partnerships in the Vancouver area. That's immediately. So over the next month, this has not changed. And we put this out in a press release, and we're dead on track. In fact, we're ahead of the game in certain aspects of it. So for the next couple months, the outlook looks like this. We're going to continue, adding partners in the Vancouver greater metro area, continue the installation of the charging infrastructure, et cetera. And we're going to be rolling out the trucks, as we said, because all the low-hanging fruit is sitting right here. So that's the next couple months. All that's on track. Applications to control all this stuff are on track. They have to be converted from East Asia and brought into the North American market. So that's what we're doing right now. The manufacturing lines have all converted. So the charging, the plugs and stuff are different here. So we have to convert everything to different voltages and yada, yada.
That's probably the easiest part of the whole process, though.
Yeah, and the applications, they all have to be translated and then approved, and some of the UIs reworked, et cetera, because a lot of this stuff is, it's originally in Korean and it's been rolled out all over there, but, it's translated to English, et cetera. So all that's working. Now, that's going to be through September, October. And then through the end of the year, we're going to be expanding that, bringing some more trucks over, expanding geographically across Canada, et cetera. And then after that, we're going to reevaluate and see, how fast we can push into the rest of the market.
I guess it makes sense to be starting out in BC because it's just, I don't know, more climate friendly too. You're not going to run to the harsh wind. You're typically in Montreal. That's about as harsh as it gets. I'm in Toronto, still pretty decently harsh, but out in BC, you guys can at least run the rollout, the testing and all that, the trials, without having to worry about 30, 40 below weather either. So that's great. And yeah, listen, if you guys ever get a chance to show investors maybe some images or take some pictures of it in action, that would be great. Let's move on to your telehealth application, Medicall. You announced recently that you introduced new equipment and that you added physicians, which tells me things are growing there. So what's going on with Medicall's growth, and what does that look like from now until the end of the year or Q1 2023?
So let me give just a quick blurb like we did with DVEMS for new people. Medicall is a medical application that we run, and it is about the same type of introduction that we did with the electric vehicle services. So we had a request from some of the companies we work with our COVID testing, to, hey, can you look into medical services? And we did a pilot and it worked. So what this is an application of our AI into like telehealth services, okay? And also into, physical dispatching of doctors and nurses, to your home, to your office, et cetera. Through an application that you can download right now on iOS, Android, et cetera. So, with the predictive analytics and things like that, we're able to get, health services out faster, more efficiently, et cetera. So that's what Medicall is. So this is our second vertical. And, we rolled out a high-end plan just, when we rolled it out that, we've got doctors on the ground that are servicing that high-end plan right now, so the revenue's coming in, et cetera. Now that works, infrastructure is working, we got it all, we're going to be expanding services, so we will be moving into, a few different fields, medical fields. And you mentioned some of that there. we're expanding those services. We're also expanding services with doctors, and we're expanding plans. So look for that in the near future. So we're going to have more plans than just, high-end services. It's going to run the gamut. And after that, the idea is to do the exact same thing that we're talking about with DMEVS. Now, just to be clear, it's going to take a little bit longer just to health regulations because they're provincial, right? And then, as we get the approvals we need across various provinces, that's the goal. So take these services, make sure they work, expand them, boom, boom, boom. And that's what we're doing through the end of the year here with Medicall. So, just to, recap, we're expanding the services, but geographically, we're getting it, we're expanding them into new fields, and we're expanding them across the board with new plans.
And
So,
where are you geographically right
Medicall,
now, Marshall? Where are you guys geographically right now?
right now, we're in British Columbia. Okay. Now, so, we run it all across British Columbia. We'll be announcing new provinces and stuff, coming out as they're available, and those should be coming out really soon.
Can't wait for Ontario because I know I'll be signing up for it because I think it's just I think it's a super intelligent. I think it's fantastic.
Well, I know when we roll this out, as we're doing it, right now, Medicall is accessible at the high end. This is going to be accessible across the board. Like when, our goal is to make this type of services available to everybody.
Sure.
Right. And
Sure.
so that's what we're doing.
Well, it's like electric
Ontario's
vehicles
high
and
on the list.
Tesla, right? Tesla had to start off at the high end first. It was expensive. The first adopters had to spend, I don't know, back then it was over 6 figures on a car. But as the technology gets ubiquitous and they roll it out and they get scale, now they're able to offer, vehicles at lower price. So same thing with Medicall, right? You had to start off kind of at the high end because you had to capture revenue, you had to make it viable, but you are going to be able to make it affordable to pretty much everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's the goal. That is absolutely the goal. Let's make this service available to everybody. And, we can use, this to help with like a lot of the health crisis that's occurring in Canada right now. You look at the different, like the news is coming out. Like I saw an article the other day. I don't remember which publication it was in, CTV, CBC, whatever, but there was like 100,000 people approximately just in one of the Eastern Seaboard provinces, just waiting on a GP. And I can't imagine a city on the Eastern Seaboard where 100,000 people, I mean, think about that, 100,000 people in Halifax waiting on a general physician. That's like a third of the population. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a big opportunity there. And I don't just mean it financially, but just for the sake of people's health, there's a really big gap there for Medicall to fill. So glad to hear that you're adding new equipment, new physicians, and you're going to be rolling out. Like I said, I can't wait for Ontario because I'm going to be one of your first signups.
Well, Ontario's high on the list, George.
Ballpark, when do you think you might be here? Just out of curiosity.
Hopefully in Ontario in the next few months.
All right.
So, infrastructure, regulatory things have to be completed, but all that's in the works. It's in motion. So as fast as we can get it out, that's when we'll be there. But
regulatory,
like I said, Ontario's high.
And regulatory just is a great moat for you at the end of the day, because even though you got to wait for it now, and people want it more anxiously, it means George Com Medical is going to have to go through the same hoops, right? So it's going to be great a moat for you at the end of the day.
No, it's not a huge moat. And the one advantage we have on that is we've already been through this. Like, okay, we went through the regulatory with the COVID business, and that was 2 years ago. So we already know how to do it. We've already done it. We've been there, done that. It's just a matter of paperwork and time. All that's done. We're just waiting. So as soon as the regulatory service is clear and we're comfortable, then we'll be rolling out province to province.
And since you bring up COVID, I was going to ask you about Nexology first, but since you just brought that there, your COVID-19 test kit business has been very, very successful. You're in BC. You're also there for potentially that as well. How's the test kit side of the business look for DataMetrex?
Right now, the test kit side of the business is booming. In fact, in some cases, we're doing more tests now than ever. Now, the outlook, the COVID testing, we all know eventually will go away. Right now, our clients have asked us to submit 2 different proposals, one through, into Q1 next year, approximately, and the other one through a year from now next year. So, from our clients' perspective, they're looking at it continuing for the next bit. Now, whether or not that comes out into the future, we'll see. COVID is a play it by ear type thing. But again, what we've done over the past couple of years is take the revenue and the money generated from the COVID businesses and push that back into our core. And
Yeah.
that's what's allowed us, to get into the DM EVS services, the medical services, et cetera. So right now, COVID test business working well. But
It's like
again,
dilution-free funding at the end of the day. It's dilution-free funding, right? I mean, it's generating cash flow that you can put into these businesses. And it's great. I mean, now it almost seems like the test side, I'll just finish with this and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like now for big enterprise and big companies, it's more like an insurance policy. A year ago was urgency, had to protect everybody, make sure that people didn't get ill and your entire workforce was knocked out and maybe your business goes under. Now, thankfully, we're not there anymore, but it still seems like it's an insurance policy, right? It's like, hey, we're not out of the woods yet. Maybe we should do this for another year of DataMetrex just to make sure that we don't, is that an accurate way of summarizing the current status?
Well, I would view it as an insurance policy, and especially against, say, if I'm a client, say against future litigation or something like that, like you didn't do enough to keep your workers safe, et
Right.
cetera. Now, I can't speak for our clientele as to how they're thinking, but this is how I would view it. And I believe that's how they're viewing it based on my interactions with them. But, we need to be safe rather than sorry. And like I said, the COVID testing, it's evolved a bit, but the numbers are going up. So, and especially
That's
right
surprising.
now,
That's surprising that your test numbers are going up. Wow.
I know the flat numbers have gone up in a few cases in the last couple months, which is a good sign for the industry. Also, it means they're bringing more people back to work, right?
Right.
We're getting ready to go into the high season for these guys. So starting as we speak right now, generally there's a dip in the summer. That's what we've seen over the past couple of years is people take a month off, go home, and et cetera, et cetera. And then everything starts really ramping back up, right about now through Christmas holidays, take another break, and then, hit it hard and heavy again, starting back in January. So, but like I said, that's going well. It's expanding. Just to recap, we've been asked for proposals through roughly Q1 next year and another one through roughly about a year from now. And so we're going to keep going.
And thanks for bringing up that point. Never even thought about that. Tests might be going up because more people are going back to work. So that's I didn't even think about that dynamic. Last point. We almost forget sometimes the cybersecurity part of the business is the genesis really of DataMetrex, where everything started in this fantastic success you had with Nexology. And now we don't talk about it as much, right? But let's talk about it. How, cybersecurity, we see what's going on in the world. We see increasing aggression in Europe. We see increasing aggression in Asia between Russia, between China and Taiwan and the US. So I'm assuming that cybersecurity is only growing as a problem. How's the Nexology side of the business going?
Well, Nexology, like you said, this Nexology is the little engine that provides all these pieces that allow us to work, in the electric vehicle space and allow us to work in the medical space. And for those that are new, Nexology is our core. And Nexology is a cybersecurity company that we've owned for many years now. We do a lot of work with the armed forces, with DRDC, which is Defense Research in Canada. So, and we do a lot of work with like the US government, different branches of the US Armed Forces, NATO, and on the private sector side, this is where we butter our bread over there. So we work with Samsung Electronics. We're a preferred vendor, for Latte, which is a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate in Seoul, South Korea, et cetera. So what we do in a nutshell is, we develop AI, cybersecurity pieces, predictive analytics, et cetera, incubate those inside Nexology. And then in the other verticals, we take those applications and we see how we can apply them to different areas, right? And right now, the current verticals, as we said, electric vehicle charging, medical, and then, Nexology does the cybersecurity work. And we're the contracts are ongoing. The work is ongoing. We're still working, with the DRDC, with the armed forces, et cetera, on all the previously announced contracts. And these contracts are big. So these are multi-year, multi-milestone, multi-deliverable contracts that are going on. These things, you're talking 5-year outlooks on some of these guys. But the revenue from those services, it's up to several $1,000,000, positive cash flow, about 750K from this. And that's exactly what we said we were going to do. And the neat thing about it is like I said, it's multiplicative, when we can apply it. So we develop something here. All right. So this is Nexology. We develop it. It works in cybersecurity for whatever reasons we're using it for. We take that application. We say, okay, does it work in medical? Does it work in EV? And if it does, boom, we roll those out. And so, it's develop once, pay 3 times. That's the idea.
Nice. And let's also not forget that what Nexology did is not just be the genesis, the foundation of the AI tech and its potential applications, but it also was the credibility and the validation, right? Because you
Absolutely.
did announce some pretty big name entities, governments, ministry, defense departments using the technology. So that gave people the Georgecom conglomerate, or let's talk Latte, for example, guys like that said, hey, if they've got validation here, let's take a look at their technology. So the cybersecurity Nexology has been a fantastic seed for DataMetrex.
Yeah, and just let me put that in real perspective in a couple sentences here, right, guys? You talk about seed, but the Nexology tech is what led to, say, the electric vehicle vertical.
Yep.
We did a pilot with those guys, for many, many months, and they liked what they saw. They like the AI that we're developing. They like how we can apply it to their problems. The same thing in medical, but that came kind of as a marriage of what we were doing inside the COVID world and inside the AI world. So the clientele that we had on the COVID, we still have on the COVID side, started asking us about the business, saying, hey, we have these needs, we have these telehealth needs, we have these needs to, basically get on an app and call a nurse or a doctor like right now. And I get that, where you're doing movie studio productions, et cetera, et cetera. Or remote mining. That's another one, like the miners and stuff that we deal with. Sometimes they're out in the middle where the only way to get there is like a helicopter. Man, it's crazy. Or so they asked us about this, and we ran the pilots and we made sure we were right. Now we're marching forth. So as we expand these verticals, that's the direction the company's going. So incubate. Nexology is the incubator. Also, a revenue generator and expanding. And then that allows us to take that tech, move into different verticals and, like I said, exponentially expand the company. Develop once, pay multiple times. That's the goal.
And that's why I said in the intro, guys, where I said DataMetrex has that rare benefit that most small cappers only dream of, which is multiple successful independent divisions, each capable of being company makers, all working off the same foundational technology at the end of the day. I mean, it's amazing, and it shows up in the numbers. Congratulations on the Q, Marshall. That was great, and cannot wait to see how the trials continue for both on the EV side, on medical, and everything. Can't wait to have you back, because no doubt in the fall where you're going to be back a lot of things going on.
Absolutely, George. Always glad to be here.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening to my podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform, to Marshall Gunter. He's CEO of DataMetrex AI, trades in Canada under DM, trades in the US under DTMXF, and for friends in Europe under D4G. For those who are new to the story, you're loving the success, you're loving the fact that it's artificial intelligence, but you need to get that foundation info. Start your due diligence on the company's profile page on Agoracom, because we know there's a lot of new breaking technology in here. We've got neatly laid out for you. And then when you've got that all together, head right over to DataMetrex website, do your deep dive due diligence. Hopefully today you discover your next amazing small cap artificial intelligence company. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, the video's over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our YouTube channel so you never miss another great Agoracom small cap video.